This is our Algebra 1 final exam study guide. Number 1 says, which number is a solution of the inequality? 3x minus 15 is greater than or equal to 3. Normally you work, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's your order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, and division, followed up by addition and subtraction. But when you're not simplifying something, when you're trying to undo something to solve it, you have to work that order backwards. So you want to start with any addition and subtraction happening and work your way instead of from top to bottom, from bottom to top this way. So we have addition and subtraction happening to the x. It says minus 15. You want to undo that by adding 15. If you add it to the left, do it to the right. And that cancels it on the left, and it gives you 18 on the right. What you still have on the left is 3x. All we did was added 15, so you do not flip the inequality symbol from greater than or equal to. It stays just like it is. Now, as you look at x, it doesn't say anything addition or subtraction anymore, but there's some multiplication and division going on since 3 is right next to x. That says 3 times. So undo times 3 by dividing by 3. If you divide by 3 on the left, divide by 3 on the right, it'll cancel on the left and leave you with just x. 18 divided by 3 will be 6. And we divided right here, but we only divided by a positive number, not a negative number. So your symbol is going to stay just like it is, greater than or equal to 6. So it says which number is a solution of the inequality. We have greater than or equal to 6. So as you look at all your numbers, this is negative. That doesn't work. This isn't big enough to be 6. This isn't a whole number either. 6D is the only one that works. Number 2 says solve the equation. We're going to go a little quicker through these. Get rid of plus 5 by subtracting it. Do the same to the right side. It leaves you with 3 over 7x equals 3. That says 3 over 7 times x. Undo that by dividing by 3 over 7. And that'll cancel it out. Remember, when you divide by a fraction, if you do it on the left, do it on the right. If you divide by a fraction 3 over 7, you want to take division and change it to multiplication, and take 3 over 7 and flip it and change it to 7 over 3. 3 is everything's over 1, so we have x equals 3 over 3 over 1 times. Now it's 7 over 3. If you realize that there's a 3 at the top and the bottom of these fractions right here, you can cross cancel them, and that leaves you with 7 over 1, or with simply 7. If you didn't realize that, you'd have just multiplied 3 times 7 straight across and gotten 21. And 3 times 1 and gotten 3, then you'd have divided 21 by 3 and gotten back to the same 7. Number 3 says 3 times y plus 6. Distribute. 3 times y is 3y, and make sure they do 3 times 6. A couple people yesterday weren't making sure to get that 6. So 3y plus 18 equals 30. Notice we worked the normal order of operations right there. We did multiplication first. That's because we were simplifying one side. Now it's time to undo the problem. So we want to undo plus 18. So subtract 18, do it from the other side. That leaves you with 3y equals 12. That says 3 times y, so divide by 3. You do it on the left, same on the right, y equals 4. For number 4, you want to combine all of your like terms that's on that left side before you try to move anything across. So combine 8d minus 4d minus 6d. That leaves you with negative 2d. Normally we would bring our, a lot of times we like to bring our d values to the left, but there's a constant term on the left over there, negative 8. So we'll follow the rule we normally do, and we'll bring our smaller variable over to our larger variable side. Our smaller one is negative 2d. We want that one to go over to the other side. So in order to undo minus 2d, add 2d. If you add it to the left, do it to the right. That gives you 4d, which you still have left on the left. Don't forget there's a negative in front of that 8. Then that says 4 times d. Undo that by dividing by 4. Do it on the left as well. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. These will cancel. D is negative 2. 5 says the perimeter is 24. Find the value of x. This is a rectangle. If the top's 3 centimeters, then the bottom is 3 centimeters. If the side is 3x, then the other side is 3x. So if you need to do that, you can draw that in. It's not necessary, though, if you know that perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Or it's just add up all of them around. So 3 plus 3x plus 3 plus 3x is going to give us what we're going to get. We're going to plug it in, though, into the 3 different variables we have, p, l, and w. In place of p, we'll plug in 24. So 24 equals 2 times the length. Let's call the length 3x, just because it's the longer side, 3x. If you did the other one, it's okay. Just make sure you keep it consistent. 2 times 3x plus 2 times the width, we'll call the width 3. So all we did was plug in values for P, for L, and for W. 2 times 3x, if we multiply them, is 6x, and 2 times 3 is 6. And then we can undo this to get what x's value is. Plus 6, undo that by subtracting it. If you do it on the right, do likewise on the left. It'll give you 18 equals 6x. And these will cancel. Get rid of 6 times something by dividing by 6. Do it on the left as well. 3 equals x. Or x's value is 3. Okay, this question asks you to find the value of the length. Then you would just take 3 and you'd plug it in place of x and say 3 times 3 and you get 9. But it only asks you for the value of x. 5 says solve the proportion, and I think this one doesn't come out to an integer if I remember right. Cross multiply. What's at the top of this fraction times 4. So what you need to do is 4 times x minus 8. You need to make sure to multiply by both of them. That's the hang up on this problem. Then you want to multiply what's at the bottom by the top of that one. Equals 5 times 2. Write up that step for a second. So we have 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. Equals 5 times 10, which is 50. Start undoing some stuff. Get rid of minus 32. We actually made a little mistake right here. It's not 5 times 2. I actually did the multiplication in my head. It's 5 times 10 is 5 times 2, which is actually 10. If we want to undo, we're still at the undo step. We want to undo minus 32 by adding it. If you add it to the left, add 32 to the right, and that'll give you 4x on the left. These will cancel, equals 42. And then get rid of 4 times something by dividing by 4. Do it on the left, do it on the right. X equals, since these cancel, 42 over 4, which the number 2 will go into. It goes into the top 21 times and into the bottom 2 times. 21 over 2, or 10 and a half. This is the one that comes out to something that's not friendly. It's not an integer. Number 7 says simplify. Read that as the square root of 144 over 49. First thing you want to do is you want to separate that into 2 radicals. The square root of 144, notice it's all by itself, over the square root of 49. Remember, all that means, the square root, it just means what times itself equals 144. What times itself? 12. What times itself equals 49? 7. There's no number that goes into both of these. 12 over 7, or 1 5/7 as a mixed number. Number 8, we're graphing this inequality. It says x is less than or equal to 5. You don't need to show a lot of detail. Remember, on your multiple choices, you'll have a little bit more to look at. But 0 is here. Your positive 5 will be to the right of 0, less than or equal to. So since it says or equal to, since it has that bar, that means we're going to color the bubble in. If it didn't have that bar at the bottom like the next one, we're not going to color that in. Less than, remember, your smaller numbers are here and your bigger numbers are here. Less than means everything this direction. Some of y'all like to look at the way the sign looks, and it says if it points that way, that's the way you shade. Be careful with that. Number 9, y is less than 4x minus 2. Okay, this is, you have 2 variables right here. Y, this is in slope-intercept form, like y equals mx plus b. So this would be your value of m, and this would be your value of b. So this is not going to be as easy to graph as the last one because it's 2 variables, but it is pretty easy in its own right. You don't need to show too much. That's probably enough. B tells you your B value is -2, not 2. Remember, B tells you where to begin. So begin on the y-axis at -2. That's where you begin. Your M value is 4. Remember, M is always a fraction because it's rise over run, or it's up and down over left and right. If there's no number under that 4, you always assume there's a 1 below, beneath it, or at the bottom. The top number tells you either go up or down. It's positive, so we go up. The bottom number tells you go left or right. It's positive, so you go right. We know we're going to the right because positive numbers are to the right. Had it been negative, we would go this way. We go up since it's positive. Had it been negative, we would go this way. So from the point where we begin, that's telling us to go up 4 times. So if we go up 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's up 4 times. And we go to the right 1 time. So that's where our second point will go, right there. We draw ourselves a line. Now, the difference between an equation and an inequality, it's either going to be a solid line or it's going to be a dashed line or a broken line. This says less than. It doesn't say or equal to at the bottom. Had it said or equal to, it'd be a solid line. But since it doesn't, we're drawing ourselves a dashed line through those 2 points. Other than that, it's a straight line. One more thing we have to do. We have to shade one side of the line, or we have to shade the other side. This equation does not go through the point 0, 0. That's fortunate for us that it does not go through the origin. We can plug in the x and y values 0, 0. So in place of y is less than 4x minus 2, we want to check the truth value of the number 0, 0. So in place of y, plug in 0. Is less than 4 times, in place of x, we'll plug in 0 minus 2. Anything times 0 is 0 minus 2. And remember, that's the reason we use 0, 0, because it's easy to compute. And most of this, you can do most of this stuff in your head. 0 is less than negative 2. You have to evaluate this for its truth value. Again, we're checking the truth value of this statement. 0 is less than negative 2. That is not true. 0 is greater than negative 2. So that means everything on this side, since it's 0, 0, is not true as well, which means everything to the other side of the line is what needs to be shaded. Number 10 says write an inequality for the graph. Again, now we're only dealing with one variable again. We're looking at the x-axis since it goes side to side. So x, this says either less than or it says greater than. It doesn't say or equal to because it's not colored in. It's pointing to everything going this direction, so it's going to be x is greater than, and you just pick the number that it is, negative 8. X is greater than negative 8. 11 says solve the inequality. Here's a compound inequality. Remember, you want to treat this one as if it's one problem at a time. So if you only look at this part of it, you want to undo what you can undo. It says minus 4, so undo that by adding 4. If you add 4 to the left side of it as we're looking at here, add it to the right side of it. That'll leave you with 2x. It'll cancel out in the middle, is less than 4. Then get rid of 2 times something by dividing by 2. If you divide by 2 on the left, make sure you divide by 2 on the right. X, you only divide it by positive numbers, so you leave less than just like it is. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So you have x is less than 2. If you would graph that just like it is now, and I know we haven't looked at the other side yet, 0, we're going to get to 2. It says is less than 2, so we'll put an open circle, not colored in, and we're going to show everything that direction. I'm not going to go too far because I don't know what the other number is yet. Now if we look at the other side of it, and we ignore the right, we just treat it like the one we've been doing as well. You added 4 to the right side of it as you're looking at here, so add it to the left side. You added it, so the symbol stays just like it is. Negative 8 plus 4 is still negative 4. You divide by 2, so divide by 2 on the left side. Even though you're dividing a negative number by something, you're still only dividing by a positive 2. So you're not going to flip that sign. It's still going to say just like it is, written as less than or equal to, and negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So now we have x, and if you want to reorder this to where you can see it a little better and read it a little bit better, put the x first and the negative 2 second, and make sure the mouth, notice the bigger part of the mouth is on the x side. So make sure the bigger part of the mouth is on the x side. So now you want to graph x is greater than negative 2. So you go to the same graph, and at negative 2, x is greater than, but it says or equal to this time. Notice the line underneath it. That means you color the bubble in at negative 2. and you're saying greater than, which means everything this way. So what you're talking about is the numbers between -2 and 2. Number 12 says find the slope. Remember, your slope is the change of y. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1. You don't have to remember that formula exactly. Just remember that it's the change of it over the change of x. Now, the reason this messes people up is because normally x comes before y, x comes before y, x comes before y. So you get in the habit of thinking x comma y, which is correct. It is x comma y for both of them. But y is on top when you're talking about slope. So it's kind of a little bit backwards. Go from left to right to up and down, but y comes first. The trick to this is make sure that whatever one you start at both times. So if we call this one sub 2, just because it's written second, that's all that means, and this one sub 1, we'll just plug it into the formula we have. Y sub 2's value, just like it is 1, minus y sub 1's value is 7. So 1 minus 7 over x sub 2's value is 10 minus x sub 1 value is 1. Again, you could have done this in the opposite order. You could have said 1 minus 7 over 1 minus 10. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. You could have said 7 minus 1 over 1 minus 10. But you can't make, they have to be the same. It has to go the same direction. Meaning this, I'm not trying to confuse anybody. Meaning you can go this way 2 times, or you can go the other way 2 times. So from here to here, but you can't go both directions. So the way we have it written, 1 minus 7 is -6, and 10 minus 1 is +9. -6 over 9 will be your slope. We'll simplify that because of the number 3 goes into both of it. 3 times -2 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 9. Your slope is -2/3.